At the start of the story, we see Jason, the most powerful man in the world, who has now become an ordinary laborer. He grinds away every day near a blazing hot boiler like a dog. Even after back-breaking work all day, he gets only 200 rupees as daily wages. All the workers were seething with anger over this. Just then, that wicked factory owner called in the riot police directly. The cops arrived and immediately started raining batons and rubber bullets down on the workers. Jason ran to save the injured workers, but suddenly he too took a hard hit and went down. The police started beating Jason mercilessly. In a fury, Jason grabbed a cop's baton, slammed him straight into the ground and broke his face with that same stick. Then he spun around in rage and laid another cop flat with a single blow. After work that night, Jason returned home. Even though the work was exhausting, he had a small and deeply beloved family. His wife was young and strikingly beautiful, and she had given him an adorable little girl. Watching his baby play in the cradle, Jason felt like all the happiness in the world had come to him. But that very night, this happiness was about to be stolen from him forever. He had just stepped out of the shower and was about to go eat with his wife when suddenly he saw her lying on the floor. He was rushing over to check on her when Jason came to, he found his wife dead and police pointing guns at him. There was a blood-soaked knife in Jason's hand, so the police immediately assumed he had killed his own wife. And just like that, poor Jason was framed for the false charge of his wife's murder and sent to the brutal Terminal Island prison. The moment he arrived, ice cold water was thrown on him. He was beaten thoroughly, white powder was sprinkled on his wounds, and he was made into a new prisoner. The cell Jason was placed in already had 3 vicious thugs who were eyeing him with hungry looks. The moment the prison guard left, sounds of a savage brawl started coming from inside the cell. The guard figured the thugs had given Jason a good working over and came back smirking to enjoy the show. But the sight inside made his jaw drop. Jason was standing there with both hands in his pockets, completely cool, while all 3 fearsome thugs were flat on their backs on the floor. The next day, Jason's new face drew everyone's attention the moment he walked into the canteen, and everyone was talking about him. Because before becoming a laborer, Jason had been a very famous champion racer. After getting married and having a child, he had given up racing. Nobody had ever imagined he'd end up in prison. Suddenly, a bunch of bald thugs showed up and surrounded Jason while he was eating. They were all from the Brotherhood gang, and it was clear they were deliberately looking for trouble. One thug deliberately spat in Jason's food. Just then their boss Rex also arrived and stood right behind Jason, showing off his dominance. But he had no idea who he'd just picked a fight with. Jason stood up and smashed his face directly with the food tray. Then another thug stepped up and Jason finished him off too. Then one landed a hard punch and Jason flew into a rage and shattered his leg with the tray. After this big brawl, Jason was brought before Grace. This golden-haired Grace was extremely cruel and ruthless. If anything displeased her, she'd have prisoners beaten with batons. But Grace knew about Jason's powerful racing experience and outstanding record, so she wanted Jason to participate in the death race held on Terminal Island. The thing was, Terminal Island Prison ran live telecasts of the death race to make money. The bloodier the race, the higher the TV ratings. In the last race, the most popular racer was a masked prisoner. But in the previous 2 races, his greatest enemy, Victor, had blown him apart with a cannon shot. No rules followed, sending him flying through the air. His death had sent the race's ratings crashing. So Grace wanted Jason to put on that mask, race under his identity, and bring the ratings back up. To convince Jason, Grace dangled a massive incentive. If Jason won 5 races, he would be freed from prison permanently. Jason, who was aching for his beloved little girl, had no other choice. He had no option but to say yes. Jason was taken to the vehicle workshop and handed over to the previous masked racers team. The team's leader was a very experienced and tough mechanic everyone called Coach. The rest of the team was solid too. They showed Jason his ferocious racing car. It was a modified Ford Mustang A80 fitted with a V8 engine producing a monstrous 850 horsepower and 700 pounds of torque. On top of all that, Coach had added some of his own special touches. The car had 0.75-inch bulletproof steel plates all around. At the back was a 6-inch thick iron shield that Coach called the Tombstone. 2 heavy machine guns were mounted on the front. Inside were petrol bombs, smoke bombs, and several survival systems. This wasn't a car, it was a death machine incarnate. Jason spotted a button in the car marked with a dangerous symbol. He thought it was some kind of terrible missile button. It turned out to be just a cigarette lighter.
Coach then briefed Jason on the other fearsome racers. Leo was a Chinese American with a business degree, a razor-sharp gangster who'd already taken 4 lives in the death race. Ghost was a tattooed maniac, totally obsessed with Grace, and had eliminated 12 people so far. Rex, boss of the Brotherhood gang, whom Jason had already clashed with. And the most dangerous of all was Machine Gun Victor, a top racer on par with the old masked racer. Victor was the one who had blown the previous masked racer to pieces with his cannon. This was Jason's biggest and toughest enemy. They were still talking when some new prisoners arrived. All of them had GPS tracking bracelets locked on their wrists. Coach explained these were to prevent death row inmates from escaping. Seeing these bracelets, Jason got lost in memories. He recalled that on the night his wife was murdered, the unknown killer's wrist also had a bracelet exactly like this. Something clicked in Jason's mind. Had his wife's murder and his arrival in prison to race been planned all along? Jason swore he would tear the curtain off this entire conspiracy. Race day came quickly. Jason put on the mask and climbed into the car amid the crowd's excitement. Then a bus arrived from which several strikingly attractive women stepped out. They had been selected from the women's prison to serve as navigators for the racers. Jason's navigator was even more deadly. One look at her and anyone would break into a sweat. Her name was Lily. She also knew the secret of the masked racer having been replaced. Once the car windows closed, Jason took off his mask. Lily was absolutely stunned. This bald man was incredibly handsome. Meanwhile, the death race went live on TV. The return of the masked racer caused viewers to flood in online, smashing all previous records. Grace was going crazy with joy. It seemed like her plan had fit perfectly into place. Then the race truly began. The moment the lights went green, every car shot off like the wind. In the first lap, weapons couldn't be used. Everyone just had to show their speed. All the cars started ramming into Jason. Luckily, Lily knew every inch of the racetrack. She told Jason to cross the barriers and head down an empty side road, and Jason gunned it, leaving several cars behind in one burst. But Victor wasn't about to give up easily. His car was a heavy-duty Dodge Ram pickup, fitted with sharp spikes at the front, ferocious machine guns on both sides, and a rocket launcher on the roof. It looked utterly menacing. He slammed hard into Jason's car. Jason couldn't match him, so he had to swerve sharply onto a narrow road.
Grace's orders from the broadcast room, the car's weapon systems were activated. Now the racers had to drive over sword and shield symbols painted on the ground. The sword button provided weapons and the shield button gave defensive gear. There was also a skull symbol. Running over that meant game over instantly. Ghost, the tattooed lunatic, had just killed a cocky racer and was riding high on it. But he accidentally ended up in front of Victor. Victor, furious, locked onto him. The moment he got the weapon button, Victor unleashed a barrage of bullets on him. But Ghost grabbed the shield button and streams of thick oil started pouring from the back of his car. Victor couldn't dodge in time and his car started fishtailing badly. In the next round, Ghost was out of his mind with joy. He grabbed the weapon button again and attacked Leo, who was ahead of him. But what he didn't know was that Leo would drop a massive load of iron spikes from the back of his car. All of Ghost's tires blew out. A car coming from behind slammed into him hard and his car flipped through the air multiple times. Leo wasn't done. He seized the right moment and fired a missile too. Ghost's car was blown to smithereens. He crawled out in terrible shape, but his arrogance still hadn't shrunk. The very next moment, the TV ratings shot off the charts as viewers watched this brutal scene. The race went on. Jason got a weapon, but the gun wasn't firing. Lily showed incredible guts. Hanging out of the moving car's window, she hammered away at the jammed machine gun with her bare hands. The girl in the car beside them had also popped out and was blazing away at them like a maniac. Jason tried hiding his car behind another, but trouble hit when Victor showed up there too and kept laying down continuous fire. Thank God Lily fixed the machine gun just in time and scrambled back inside. Jason and she looked at each other and smiled. It was clear this girl was no ordinary woman. To dodge Victor's cannon fire, Jason grabbed the defense button, but strangely, the protective oil and other systems in the car weren't working. It didn't seem like a coincidence. The other racers also caught on. They shoved Victor aside and attacked Jason to try and finish him off. The rear of Jason's car was taking hits and nearly falling apart. "Come, sit on my lap." "What?"
Lily thought Jason was looking for some fun before dying, but Jason's intentions weren't like that. He was simply tossing the petrol bomb mounted in the car out through the window. That's how Jason cleverly finished off his enemy. Grace was thrilled with Jason's move. After that, Jason floored the gas and started tailing a car, the one that had Rex, boss of the Brotherhood gang, inside. Rex made a hand gesture towards Jason that reminded him of that outside killer. The moment Jason's attention wandered, Victor slammed into him hard and knocked him out of the race. That's why Jason lost this race, finishing in 6th place. After the race, when Jason brought the car back to the workshop, Coach inspected it. He found that the defensive oil tank was completely full. Then why hadn't it worked during the race? While everyone was scratching their heads over this, Jason had on the other side already figured out the whole picture. Lily was the one who had framed him. Lily was the one who had arranged his wife's murder and pinned the blame on him solely so that Jason would participate in this death race. When Lily summoned Jason for the next race, Jason flat out refused. But that witch was too smart. She pulled out a photo of Jason's daughter and placed it in front of him. At this point, someone had adopted his daughter, and only Lily knew where she was. Jason erupted in fury. But faced with that threat, he had no choice but to say yes again. Jason now understood that he had to find a way out of this prison no matter what, get back to his daughter, and he absolutely was not going to let the killer who murdered his wife get away. So in the dead of night, while everyone slept, Jason slipped alone into the Brotherhood boss Rex's workshop. But they were ready and waiting. The bald thugs started driving brutal punches into Jason's gut with their sticks. In pain, Jason grabbed his own neck. Rex came charging in too. He wanted payback for the canteen brawl. He slammed a large electric baton with Jason with full force. Surrounded by thugs, Jason couldn't fight back. Rex attacked again and landed a powerful kick that made Jason's head spin and left him nearly unconscious. Rex was about to land the final blow when he suddenly screamed in pain and stopped. It turned out that the big guy from Jason's team had attacked from behind. Rex went berserk and lunged at the big guy.
Jason got his opening. He picked up a heavy chunk of iron from the floor and drove it with full force into the leg of the guard standing nearby. Jason was now completely free. He grabbed a red fire extinguisher off the ground and shattered a thug's skull with it in one shot. Seeing the cylinder in Jason's hand, the smaller thug started backing away. Jason pinned one thug against the wall and threw such a savage right hook that his face was drenched in blood. Jason wasn't willing to let him go. He lunged at the thug fast and kept hammering him continuously. Then he threw in a solid sidekick too. Jason noticed a smaller thug had gone flying and landed far away. The little guy had finally gotten scared. Jason looked like the Grim Reaper himself. Jason picked up a heavy toolbox from the workshop and brought it crashing down on the small thug's back. That must have straightened every bone in his body. Jason still wasn't in the mood to spare him. He grabbed the guy's cheap undershirt, lifted him into the air, and flung him away. He went crashing into the iron rack nearby. Then he dragged him back out and got ready to land the final blow. The small thug surrendered and spilled everything. Jason's hunch had been dead on. Grace had given the order for all of this. After learning the truth, Jason wasn't going to let him off that easy. He was about to strike when a guard from behind fired a stun gun and Jason collapsed unconscious right there. Afterwards, Jason was thrown back into his cell to get ready for the next race.
The moment the lights came on, all the cars shot out, but Jason's car didn't move an inch. Only when everyone had gotten far ahead did Jason slowly ease the car forward. Coach, standing in the distance, had no idea what was happening. The truth was, Jason was doing all this because of Lily sitting beside him. He drove the car into a factory building, grabbed the ejection lever on Lily's seat hard, and threatened her into telling the truth. Why had the car's systems not worked in the last race? Had Lily been behind it? Lily didn't want to admit it at first, but with her life on the line, she coughed up the truth. She admitted she'd done it, but because of Grace's threats. Grace's intention was for Jason to lose the race and stay locked up, racing
waiting for them for the rest of his life. After learning the truth, Jason slammed the gas to the floor. He hit the nitrous booster and the car shot forward like a rocket, reaching the other racers in the blink of an eye. He glared up at Grace and swore he would have his revenge on this witch. Then he slammed hard into Victor. Before Victor could process what had happened, he was shoved off to the side of the road. Jason didn't hit him too hard because Jason's real target was Rex, the man who had murdered his wife. Jason closed in right on Rex. The two cars collided and sparks flew everywhere. Lily was screaming at Jason to take the shield, but Jason ignored her completely and grabbed the weapon button instead. He was fully ready to take his revenge. Meanwhile, Rex also got a weapon and started blasting Jason with a torrent of bullets. Nobody in a million years expected Jason to spin his car around instead of hiding and start laser cannon firing directly at Rex's car while driving in reverse. Jason's car was running in reverse gear while devastating fire came from both sides. A little while later, Jason got the defense button. He immediately spun the car around and triggered the smoke bomb. Such a ferocious black cloud poured from the back of the car that Rex's entire vehicle disappeared into it. He couldn't see an inch ahead. Even after Rex's car flipped, Jason stopped and let everyone else pass him. The moment Rex came crawling out of his wrecked car, Jason backed his car up, put the mask back on, and, despite Lily's protests, stepped out and walked straight up behind Rex. Jason wrung Rex's neck with his bare hands. That was an open challenge to Grace. Watching all of this on camera, Grace was burning with fury, but she couldn't touch him for it, so she ordered her most terrifying weapon onto the field to make the race deadlier.
On that command, an enormous and fearsome truck known as the giant monster truck Dreadnought rolled onto the field. This massive truck was loaded with heavy cannons and missiles. The cannons on its roof opened up with indiscriminate fire. Fire spread across the entire racetrack and terrifying explosions erupted everywhere. Several racing cars were blown to bits. This massive truck went straight after Jason and started attacking him relentlessly while also shooting fire from both sides. Leo accidentally drifted into the side of this truck. Iron spikes shot out from the truck's massive tires and pierced Leo's car. The beautiful girl sitting next to Leo was ground into pulp. Then a thick, spiked chain shot out from the rear of this monster truck and coiled around Leo's car. The truck's cannon swiveled directly toward him, and Leo had to accept his death. Now only Jason and Victor were left on the field. Jason called the big guy and told him to relay the message to Victor. They'd have to team up to take down this monster. The two of them weathered the truck's ferocious assault together and somehow pulled their cars up right in front of that colossal truck. They matched speeds and at the exact same moment pressed the death skull button on the track. Grace's most powerful weapon was pulverized just like that. Jason won the race. Every prisoner in the jail erupted in joy, clapping wildly for Jason, but Grace's face had gone pale with rage. She was regretting having brought Jason into this race because the situation was slipping out of her hands. She swore that in the next race she would finish Jason off at any cost. Anyway, the world only cares about the mask. What does it matter who's behind it? Before the final race, she had her thugs plant a deadly bomb under Jason's car. At the meeting, Grace announced to everyone that whoever won this last race would be freed from prison forever. But Jason knew the full truth inside. Not a single person had gone home alive from this place in all these years. The woman standing in front of them was lying through her teeth. After the meeting, Coach showed Jason a video clip. It was the footage of Ghost's car flipping over and being destroyed. Jason instantly understood Coach's hint. This very video clip was the actual master plan to escape from this prison. So, Jason went alone to Victor's workshop and worked everything out with him.
A short while later, the death race final arrived. Now only 2 people were left to stake their lives. To beat Jason, Victor's car had been fitted with a full row of rocket launchers that could pierce any shield, extremely deadly. Jason got into his car too. Lily sat with him again, but this time, Lily had already told Jason about Grace's bomb plan in advance. It seemed like Lily had now become Jason's devoted ally.
The moment the race started, both cars were flying, but the treacherous prison guards secretly disabled Jason's weapon buttons and handed all the power over to Victor. This was no longer a race, it was just a one-sided beating. The worst part was that Jason's defense button wasn't working either. It looked like Jason's defeat was now certain. Victor went wild with joy and unleashed a storm of bullets on Jason. What could Jason do? He dropped the iron shield attached to the back of his car onto the road. Victor was quick enough to swerve and dodge it. Jason kept racing hard and finally spotted one active defense button. Just as Jason was about to hit that button, a massive cannon shell came roaring from behind and blew that button to pieces. Victor had fired it. He wanted to end the race and launched several missiles at Jason. The missiles grazed Jason's car and went slamming into the wall ahead, causing a thunderous explosion. But Jason didn't stop. Still racing full tilt, he drove straight into that fireball, and with that, Jason's car smashed through the prison wall and broke free on the other side, with Victor hot on his heels. This had all been their plan from the start, to break through the wall and get free. Both cars raced at full speed towards the bridge ahead. Grace went absolutely berserk. She had been made to look like a fool in front of everyone. She immediately cut the live telecast and ordered her guards to go outside and capture them both. Just then, Grace remembered she still had one last move, the bomb planted under Jason's car. She hurried to get the remote so she could press the button and finish off that defiant racer.
Someone must really be furious right now. Nobody messes with my car. The truth was, Coach had long since switched out that bomb and replaced it with another. Grace's rage hit the stratosphere, and she ordered a helicopter brought in. Meanwhile, dozens of police cars were on the tail of the two vehicles. Lily panicked. How were they going to survive this? But Jason was completely confident. He told Lily to pull the lever in front of her. The fact was, Jason had set up a 5-kilogram petrol bomb in the car way earlier to make the getaway easy. Just like that, both cars effortlessly blew through all of the police's blockades. Once they reached safety, Jason and Victor said goodbye to each other and took off in separate directions. Seeing how things had gone, Grace decided to go after Jason personally. But catching Jason wasn't that easy. He looked into Lily's eyes, then leapt out of the moving car and vanished. Lily kept driving the car. The helicopter hovering in the sky couldn't see clearly, so they kept chasing the car. Lily stopped the car in a deserted spot, put the mask on, and climbed up on the roof of the car. The cops immediately surrounded her from all sides. What they didn't know was the real Jason and Victor had already hidden themselves on a train and broken free from that place forever. Both were deeply happy, but they had just one regret, that they hadn't been able to kill Grace with their own hands. On the other side, Grace thought she had caught Jason. She was smiling with arrogance. Just then, a guard brought her a gift box in celebration of the win. She opened it happily, but the moment she looked inside, her eyes went wide. There was a bomb in it. This was in fact a gift sent by Coach. 6 months later in Mexico, Jason and Victor partnered up to open a car repair shop. They modified cars for racing fanatics who called themselves family. Suddenly, a sports car pulled up, and a stunning woman stepped out. It was none other than Lily. She hugged Jason with deep warmth and love. After that, Jason brought his little daughter there too. It seemed like this little girl was about to get a new mother from that day forward. And with that, the story of the film Death Race comes to an end.